everyone, it's Stephanie.
It's Emily.
And today we're here to do the book review called Roseblood by A.G. Howard. We had received this book from BookCon a few weeks ago. So we're finally doing a review on this. Finally had time to sit down and read it. We got it from the Owl Crate booth thingy, and we also got this little like note, which did you read this? I really liked it. I thought it was really cute. Mm-hmm. And we got this like signed.
Yeah. So just something that you will definitely notice if you check out our BookCon video was just how envious she was that I got this book and she didn't. But it's okay. It's alright. So basically, we finally both got a chance to read it. So when it came to the story itself, I believe the premise was surrounding a new academy. Like this, definitely it starts off with the main character moving to a new school, and she is currently like kind of haunted or like possessed in a strange way.
Yeah,
with like how like in terms of her singing talents and sort of like what kind of narrative alongside that brings the story that brings with that sort of like problem, because like this overall is a retelling or like a light retelling, loose retelling of the Phantom of the Opera.
It's I don't know if it's a retelling. It's more like it's inspired by it.
Yeah,
just
definitely
because
like that.
I mean, there were
inspired. That's a good word.
Yeah, just because like I mean, yes, the Phantom Opera. I mean, it's definitely it's kind of a retelling for sure, but it's more like the second generation. You know,
I definitely realized that too.
Yeah, so I was it was interesting just because, so actually, you know, I was very jealous, but then after reading the book, I was like not that jealous. Because, okay, so the book for me started off really slow. Like, I didn't get into it until maybe 2/3 of it. But partly it was also because I was reading it on vacation. So I was just like, you know, trying to read it like when I got back to my like Airbnb or my hostel at night. I'll like read a few chapters, but then I'll just be like, oh my god, this book is so boring, like it's so slow, and I always put it off after reading like 2 pages. So because of that, I really struggled with it. It took me like almost 2 weeks just to finish this book. So I don't know, like I really didn't like the characters. I thought the plot was like just really incredibly slow. A lot of the things were not very clearly written out in terms of like what they were. Like it's also very like fantasy based as well. So, but the thing is, the fantasy element wasn't really clear until like 2/3 of the book in. At which case I'm just like almost done with this book. Like, you know, I'm like toss it away. But yeah, I don't know. I was not a fan of this book at all whatsoever. I don't know about you.
So for me, I also agree in the beginning it was a little slow. I actually feel like the beginning, it was also a little disturbing because she immediately mentioned like, the main character mentioned like what her grandmother did to her. And like this is one particular line that just popped out in my head even now, where like her grandmother, I guess, tried to do some like abortion thing going on, and from that point on, it kind of set the mood for me for the rest of the book, which I guess made sense given the fact that it is Phantom of the Opera inspired. But I would say that like a lot of the characters themselves didn't really deviate too much from like their, I guess, original counterparts in the play. And I just kind of had also kind of hard time really reading into the story too much, especially near the end. At that point when all the drama was happening, I was kind of like, well, I clearly understand that you need to rely on a given script, but there's a certain level of like novelty you could also bring into the overall idea that I just couldn't really find myself. Like I couldn't find it in the story itself. So
I don't know. I felt like Rune as the character herself, she was a little slow. Yeah. You know, she was always just like 2 steps behind, and I couldn't really like connect with her that well. Not to mention Thorn, like, you know, basically like the Phantom of the Opera counterpart, was also kind of like ambiguous. You know, he was just like there, but like not really there. And then you'll see his side of the story, but then it's like super vague. And the whole like, you know, Eric, you know, the actual Phantom or whatever, he was also like there, but then he had his own scheme that was, I don't know, it was just very complicated and convoluted. Like, it was just very like, I don't know, bizarre, I think. so I don't know, I like didn't really like the overall story. Rune's friends as well that she made in the academy, I didn't really connect with them. Her aunt as well was kind of just like, I don't know, like, and then at the end when you finally figure out like what is actually going on, like what are all these like weird, like like hints, and they finally make sense, you're just kind of like, oh, that's the storyline. Like, I don't know, it just seems like very odd to me. So at the end I was just more glad that I finished it than anything.
Granted, I would definitely say that from your discussion points, this is not a good vacation read.
Yeah. I feel like it's a book that, I mean, for me, I feel like Phantom of the Opera, I've only seen the show, like the show itself. So I've never read the original. So maybe if you like the original book, you might be more.
I would say that this book perhaps is just, we're just not the target audience for it. I definitely see that, like, the idea of dark fantasy, having a certain nature of paranormal as well as like paranormal romance. I generally try to stray away from that in general. Like, I've never really, like, when Twilight was happening, all those other related
See,
books.
that's the thing, I like those books.
Okay.
Twilight was like, my tweens like years, okay? So that's a different story. But I like fantasy, I like dark fantasy, I like paranormal, supernatural. I love reading all that stuff. So for me, this book should technically be up my alley, but it wasn't. Just because I thought I didn't like the writing, the plot was incredibly slow, I didn't like the characters, like the whole thing was just kind of like meh to me. It's just the cover was beautiful. So if you're like a person who judge a book based on its cover, probably don't read it, because that's what I did.
I would say that this definitely, I definitely truly do believe that there is an audience out there who would like this book.
Of course.
Yes. Just to give the author some room.
Yes, there are always people who like books.
Oh my god. Anyway, but the one thing that I, just from the very beginning, kind of put me off was the fact that she pulled this writer's trick that it's so like hackneyed that like I like just kind of didn't really want to read it afterwards. Was that she was like, Rune was kind of like, oh, this thing happened to me and this miserable thing happened to me, but I won't tell you what it is from the very beginning, because she'll be like, Mom doesn't understand, but I won't tell you what actually happened to me. And to me personally, it's like, as a writer, it's not the best way to go about telling a story, because it's like you're giving a tease. That's the reason why things get really slow.
Yeah.
When I'm like writing stories, like I am so prompt to it, which is also why I don't like it when other writers publish with that in the book, because you shouldn't do that, really. Like, as a good writer, like, it definitely doesn't. It's more of a disservice to both you and the reader, just because, one, it drags out your story. Two, readers get bored. Yeah. And then three, like, it's just, there's better ways.
Right now.
Well, my thumb's in the top. So 3 would be like, there's better ways to tell the story that are a little bit more of a challenge when you do write it. But again, like, it's just like, I prefer personally not to read stories like that, where like you're just like, I told in the beginning, very, very upfront, that like, oh, something happened to me, but I'm not actually going to tell you. Yeah, I can't really handle that. And so from that point on, I just didn't really have too much of interest to keep throwing myself into the story, just because as I read all of the book, but like she said, like, I was like at this point when like she finally started like revealing what it was, and I was just like, well, I'm not here because your story.
And then you find out that all these other characters had like hidden depths to it that didn't reveal themselves until like the really end, and you're just like, oh, you're on my side. Oh, like, that's not how you acted this entire time in the book.
Well, I mean, that's okay, because there's a level of like,
well, yeah, of course, but it was just like, I just felt like the book dragged on for so long. Like, I like books where like within like a chapter or two, like the first chapter or two, I may be a little confused, I'm just thrown in, but I'd rather be a little bit confused in the first 2 chapters, because I'm thrown into like this huge plot, and then quickly like surface up and be like, oh my god, this is so interesting, like, and continue reading. That's the type of books I prefer. But whereas books like this, where it's like just really incredibly slow world building, I'm just like, I can't, because I just want to know what the plot is, like, and this book could have easily been condensed to like half the size, or even like have more action going on, instead of just having it really slow. And there was just so much drama too between like Rune and her classmates, like when she first came, that I was just like, okay, like, I understand, you have this amazing voice, and that's why you steal the limelights. Yeah. I was like, is that the word? That I'm just like, okay, I get this, but there's no need for you to continually say this, like, oh no, she hates me because I have to steal her role. And then she kept going back and forth between like, am I going to take that role? Am I not going to take that role? What will benefit me? What will not benefit me? And I'm just like, can you just make a decision already? Like, you don't need to take 200 pages to make a decision. Like, basically, like, that particular role, she talked about that in the beginning, and then she didn't make the decision until the very end. So like certain things like that, I was like, this did not have to be dragged on at all, like, whatsoever. But
yeah, so for me, I definitely had a similar take on it, but I'm going to just word it differently.
Okay.
So my idea is that in terms of character, I felt like this whole book was kind of like a pity party for like the main protagonist. It was a lot of like, oh, she's perfect, it's not really her fault that people treat her badly. And I completely understand that she is a victim of her curse.
Yeah.
But just naturally, it's like, if you write about this character and she's suffering so long, I don't really know if starting at a point where she's not willing to take action is the best like way
starting
to come
point.
up, the best way to like approach a novel. Just because, as you mentioned, it was for you as a pure reader's point of view. It was completely like from beginning to the end, like that was like your so experience. And I would say that for me, like, just thinking about now, like, not that I would want to take over this story, but I could definitely see like there are certain points of the tale where like she could have, like, it would have made sense for her to be a little feistier, or like come up with like a different solution, or even for like the author herself to sort of bridge that like gap.
And I feel weird because like her character itself is very like plastic,
plastic. You just say that.
Not plastic. Where it's like she's very like pacifist.
Pacifist.
Yeah, that's the word I'm thinking about. So she's very pacifist. She likes to step back and just like let things run its course, which is why she never really took action for anything. So it was really out of character when she tried to like protect her friends from that club situation.
Okay.
And I was just like, but that's not like you, and then and she even failed at that, like certain things. I was just like, it's just, I don't know, I wish there was just more like, I wish she had more like strength in her as a character. Like, I really don't like weak main protagonist, and she was extremely one.
Okay, so for me, I don't have as much of a prejudice towards weak or strong characters as long as they make sense.
Okay.
But like you just mentioned, like some of the events that kind of come afterwards, it kind of was too well timed for me to really believe that this was consistently like her,
right,
and not the fact that you needed to tell a story and have something happen. So I feel like in general it's really hard. I understand, like, as a writer it's kind of hard and tough to do that, but as just from hearing like her reader's point of view, it definitely like occurred to me as a reader as well that like that was confirmed. Like for me, I'm like, as a reader, I'm always just like, maybe other readers think this and therefore it's true, because I don't want to be like, I always come towards like books like these with like a writer's point of view, primarily, and then so like I sometimes just need you to be like, yeah, this is how I feel. I was like, yeah, I did too. Okay.
Yeah, because I definitely come from a reader's POV and she comes from a writer's POV, so like, our opinions differ sometimes, but when it aligns,
this is what happens. But no, overall though, I definitely do want to say that there is an audience out there for this book. We just happen to not be it. And like in general, this book was good because it came free. And
okay. So that's basically our relatively quick summary and review of this book. I would say that the cover is still gorgeous. I still really like the cover. And like honestly, like this white part here, like the mask is shiny too.
Yeah, there's like
so like you can actually like it's, you know, they took a lot of effort with the cover itself. So
yeah, definitely. So overall, if you have anything more to say about the book, if you disagree with us or anything like that, you can definitely comment down below. And every week we come up with new book related content and discussions, so definitely feel free to subscribe to our channel.
And don't forget to like the video if you liked it, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys. Bye.